I'm in court, and I will testify against someone close to me. The man I fell in love with, and he used me. How did this happen? Subscribe to the channel, and I will tell you the details. And I'm waiting for a like. My name is Angelika. I'm an ordinary girl who can't imagine my life without music. Since childhood, I have constantly hummed something to myself. It's like there's a music box running in my head, and I can't turn it off. This made my mother terribly angry.
Please stop! My head is already pounding. Stop whistling this tune.
I became quiet, but after a minute, the melody itself burst out of me. First, my mother took me to a psychiatrist. She was sure that I had some kind of mental disorder, but the psychiatrist advised me to send me to a music school. I didn't like it. At school, they forced me to study a lot of different subjects, but I just wanted to write songs and sing them. I left school after a month, and even my mother's threats didn't stop me. Soon, my mother left me alone. She had more serious problems. She and her father were getting divorced. I took it in no way. Almost all of my friends' parents are divorced. Some people lived with their mother and spent their holidays with their father. Some are the opposite. The parents separated quietly. No tears or scandals. Dad just packed his things and moved out, giving me a big pink notebook as a farewell gift. The same evening, I recorded my first song in it. It turned out to be sad, but it was as if a stone had been lifted from my soul. Since then, I carried around pink notebook with me. Lately, my mother was working late. This was probably her way of trying to distract herself from sad thoughts.
Honey, I have an urgent business trip. For a week, maybe more. I agreed with Dad. You will live with him.
It's cool. I haven't talked to my dad for a long time. And it's interesting where and how he lives. In the evening, my mother took a taxi to the airport, and I received a message from my dad.
Honey, I have a meeting until late. The driver will pick you up. The bedroom is ready. Feel yourself like at your own home.
Does Dad have a driver? This is something new. Maybe my father was promoted. And when I saw the luxurious mansion where Dad now lives, I was completely confused. Either this is a joke or Dad robbed a bank. The interior design was very modern. Minimum furniture, lots of mirrors, soft lighting. And it turned out that I not only have a separate bedroom, but also my own large bathroom. The pleasant sound of water filling a large, shiny bathtub was relaxing. I closed my eyes and started singing. Oh, it was so cool. At home, I turned the water on full so that my mother wouldn't hear me singing in the bathroom. But then she swore that I was using too much water. And here, no one. I opened my eyes to catch my breath and almost choked. I saw a guy in the mirror.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Who are you? I pressed myself against the wall.
Matthew. And you?
What are you doing in my father's house? The guy looked at me suspiciously for a couple of seconds and then laughed.
Peter told me that his daughter would come. Exactly. You're Angelika, right?
Peter is my father, so the guy knows him. A couple of minutes later, Matthew and I were drinking hot chocolate in the kitchen. The guy handled the coffee machine so skillfully that all my doubts disappeared. He really lives here.
You have a great dad. He and I quickly became friends. Yes, and he loves my mother. Although her character is not simple, she had a hard time in life. But now she is rich, successful, and works in interior design.
Now I understand why this house is furnished with such taste, and where Dad got the driver from.
You sing great.
I blushed. Matthew is the first person to compliment my singing. I write songs too. I blurted out.
Wow, and I have my own recording studio. Can you imagine?
Matthew winked at me.
Let's hang out there tomorrow and you can show me your songs. Is it coming?
He's still asking. Certainly. And in the morning, a surprise awaited me. It turned out that Dad arrived home late at night. Matthew's mother also returned from a business trip. Everyone, including Matthew, was having breakfast in the kitchen. Dad's new wife saw me first, a very beautiful, well-groomed woman with long hair. She rushed to hug me.
Hello, Angelika. I'm Rachel, Matthew's mom. Sit down and have breakfast with us.
While drinking coffee, I secretly watched my dad's new wife, beautiful, well-groomed. Rachel knew her worth. Dad carefully poured her hot coffee, added freshly cut fruit. He didn't look after Mom like that.
Well, it's time for us to go. Don't be bored, kids.
Rachel smiled at me, and a couple of minutes later, she and my dad disappeared out the front door. And we went with Matthew to his studio. Mom gave it to Matthew for his birthday. Previously, he had his own rock band. They even recorded several tracks, but it did not bring much success.
I'm not worried. You need to be able to enjoy life. That's what I'm doing now.
Matthew chatted incessantly, and I absorbed his every word. He loved music, just like me. This is incredible. I showed him my pink notebook with songs. Matthew's eyes sparkled when he saw how much material I had accumulated.
Sing the song I heard yesterday in the bathroom.
Matthew winked at me. I closed my eyes and began to sing. An hour later, the track was recorded.
Yes, Angelika, there's definitely something about him. We need to record a few more songs and try to promote them on the radio station. Everything will work out.
Suddenly, Matthew hugged and kissed my forehead. Butterflies fluttered inside. He believes in me and in my talent. He wants to help me. We didn't leave the recording studio for a whole week. We recorded a few more tracks. Matthew said the guys he knew at the radio station were interested in my songs.
But this is no longer a joke, Angelika. You and I need to conclude a contract. I will become your producer and officially promote you. You will become famous.
And Matthew hugged me tenderly. During this week, we became very close. He was my soulmate. I buried my nose in his shoulder, and Matthew suddenly kissed me right on the lips. Between kisses, I put my signature on the contract. And then we went for a walk. The next day, I got home. I really didn't want to, but my mother had already returned home 2 days ago and was offended by me. Matthew promised to start promoting my songs for now. We agreed to meet on the weekend. For several evenings, Matthew and I constantly corresponded. But by Friday, he disappeared from the radar. And my pink notebook also disappeared. I guess I forgot it in the studio. The weekend was ruined. The guy didn't respond to my messages. Only the answering machine spoke to me. What happened? Maybe he's busy promoting me? Another week passed and it was crazy. Tests, essays, I didn't get enough sleep. But I passed everything brilliantly, and in the evening, my mother took me to a cafe to celebrate my success. We were already approaching when suddenly I felt like an electric shock. I probably heard it. I turned up the volume and choked with happiness. My track was playing. My track was playing on the radio station. Out of emotion, I told my mother about everything. About the recording studio, about Matthew. Let's go to the studio, Mom. I'll introduce you. I'll sing, and you will see that I have talent. Mom chuckled in disbelief, but still agreed. The lights were on in the studio, so Matthew is there. I knocked. I heard quiet steps. Matthew, open up. It's me, Angelika. Silence. I felt something strange inside me. I walked around the studio from the yard and entered through the back door. Matthew walked along the corridor with long strides, and I was nervously talking to someone on the phone.
Don't freak out. Give me a few more days. I'll think of something. The track becomes popular. Great. Then we'll launch the next one, and money will flow like a river into your pockets. Let's find some girl who will open her mouth to the soundtrack. Much better than the ignoramus who wrote them. And most importantly, I have a notebook.
Matthew, what are you talking about? I couldn't resist.
Get out of here. It's none of your business anymore. You signed the contract, and she transferred the rights to all her songs to me, so bye.
And Matthew pointed with his eyes to the door. I couldn't understand anything. Suddenly my head started spinning. I hurried to the exit to take a breath of fresh air. 2 weeks have passed since then. I pressed charges against Matthew. He illegally took my songs. It turned out that according to the agreement, which I signed without reading, the rights to all my lyrics and melodies were transferred to Matthew, and he stole the pink notebook from me. It has now become the subject of controversy. For a month now, one of the central radio stations has been playing my track. Listeners like him, but I can't be happy. I'm offended and bitter that my talent was used so rudely. Whether I'll be able to prove that I'm right, I don't know. But the main thing is that Dad left Rachel. It turned out that at one time she broke up our family, promised Dad mountains of gold, but simply used him in her own interests. How Matthew used me. And now we're all together. My mom, my dad, They support me very much, and I am happy. And I'll still write new songs.